What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 13 of the Mafia Members Podcast, a podcast for the Bills Mafia by the Bills Mafia. We are episode 13 this week. So a couple things we'll touch on today. We'll talk about some new things going on with the show. We'll update on kind of some of the things we're working on, some updates on our social medias, stuff like that. We're going to get into the obviously it was a big week for quarterbacks getting paid, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how much they're getting paid, because it's actually ridiculous. I'll give you my thoughts on kind of who's worth the money and who's not, and kind of what it means going forward for some of the quarterbacks that are still yet to be paid, or quarterbacks that are going to have to are going to be needing another contract somewhat soon. And then we'll get into some training camp stuff. Saw lots of nice to see some of the Bills players out there in pads. So we'll talk on that and kind of some of the issues around that. It's good when you see some guys making some good plays, but that means that your defense is making bad plays, or you know what I mean. So we'll kind of look into that and see. We'll see if it's a good offense or a bad defense. That's kind of what I've been what I've kind of been looking at this week. Seeing as everyone is back out in pads now. That's kind of the gist of the show there. So without further ado, here we go.
The Mafia Members Podcast.
Alrighty, everyone. So here we are, episode 13. So first, I'll give myself a little shout out here. Today we just crossed the 1,300 followers on Twitter. So, like I've been saying, the Twitter and the support that you guys are showing me out there on Twitter is amazing. It's been really awesome, actually. Lots of fun on there. Trying to get more on other platforms, but it's busy. But again, appreciate that. And speaking on Twitter, if you go to the Twitter page, there's a link to a store where you can buy some merch. You see this sweater here? Got stuff like that. Just kind of designed a t-shirt. There's mugs. There's stuff like that. So it's pretty cool if you feel like you want to support the show by any means. That would be amazing. So yeah, just a quick shout out to everyone. Appreciate everything that y'all are doing, and like I said, if you feel like getting some Mafia members merch, there's definitely a spot that you can do that. Just check the link in my Twitter bio. So yeah, okay. So so let's get into it because obviously the quarterback that we'll talk about the most is Tua, just because he's the one that's got he's in our division and he's the one that got a big payday. Obviously the Love one put him in tied for first with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow for the annual salary. At their all three of them are now at $55 million. I think Love was the biggest contract, or like he's now the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. I think that's what it was. And I mean, I've been saying it now for a couple weeks, and even with the players top 100 list that just came out, that had Love ranked above some quarterbacks who he's just clearly not better than yet. I think what I've been saying is true, and I think I think we're very quickly making Jordan Love the most overrated quarterback. Obviously not his own doing. It's not, he played well for one half of a season, got one playoff win in Dallas, and I mean that's not like when you say that's it. That's not meant to be like in a negative, but that really is all that he did. He beat Dak Prescott in the playoffs. That's it. It's not like he's a Brock Purdy who's been to a Super Bowl, or even who else, like a Jalen Hurts has been to a Super Bowl, or some of these guys like Allen's Allen's played in the conference championship game. Lamar's played in the championship game. Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has won 3 of them, and he's already paid more. Now the Love one in particular, I get it. That's kind of how the quarterback situation is going to be for the foreseeable future. Like that's what you're going to have to pay to get your quarterback one. So I can definitely see why Green Bay did it. I think Love he's probably more deserving of it than like Trevor Lawrence, who's also getting $55 million a year. But I just think it's way too early for Love to be kind of treated the way that he is. I think it's, to be honest, I think it's a little bit ridiculous that he was holding out to get more money, and he hasn't really proven himself yet. He had 8 good games. So I mean, like I said, I understand it from the perspective of that's the going rate for a quarterback one, and I think Jordan Love could be a quarterback one, but we don't exactly know that just yet, right? So I think it's a little early on the Love thing, but your hand as a franchise, your hand's kind of forced, because what else are you going to do? Trevor Lawrence, yeah, I think he's $55 million a year for him is wild. Obviously, the Burrows make sense. The Lamar Jacksons, they make sense for getting that much money. Goff is one that's I'm a little bit unsure on, because like, yeah, he's good. Went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. Got to the conference championship game last year. He's kind of the guy that, like, I don't know if it's his like skill set in particular that the Detroit Lions are paying for. I think it's his fit in the organization. I think it's his leadership that he brings, and I think it's his kind of attitude and how he matches with Dan Campbell. I think that's kind of what they're paying for with Goff. And then there's Herbert at 52.5, Lamar at 52, Hurts at 51. And then I think that to round out the top 10, I think is Kirk Cousins now. But um, all those guys over $50 million a year, I think is pretty wild considering the two glaring names that aren't on that list is Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Um, but we've talked about Allen's contract in previous episodes. But we'll talk now because the top three guys, Love, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, they're all at $55 million a season, and then Tua's in fourth place, and he's at 53.1. Now, the only thing I think that they did that was good, Miami, in this contract, was that it's only 4 years long. Um, I don't I don't think Tua is the guy that you can that you should be investing this money into, and in um, I just don't see him. He's a really good quarterback. I don't think he's top 5 in the league. I don't think he's probably in the top 10. I'd say he's probably somewhere in the top 10, probably in that 8, 9, or 10 spot, something like that. Um, but the reason why I don't is he has one. I don't really like getting too, like I've said before, I don't really like getting too much into the weeds of stats and kind of stats of the stats and whatever they call them there, the deep dive into stats. Um, but one thing stood out to me and as concerning for Tua. I mean, besides the fact that he's not good against the Bills, he's not good in cold weather. He hasn't really proven that he can beat good teams yet. Those are all obviously huge factors. Every team that's good in the AFC currently plays outside in the cold. You would hope that your quarterback is able to play outside in the cold. Um, Ravens, Bills, Bengals, Kansas City. Those are the teams um, that you're going to have to beat in the playoffs. I mean, unless Miami is expecting to finish first in the conference and get the first round bye and then host every playoff game until they get to the Super Bowl. I think that's pretty lofty goals. I don't think you can plan for doing that every single year. Um, but I mean, besides all that, there was one thing that stood out to me when I was looking at kind of some of the Tua numbers. Um, so the one that stood out to me was he's third in passing if he gets the ball out before 2.5 seconds. Okay, so he needs hut and ball gone because he's 16th in passing if it's after the 2.5 seconds. 16th. So that means not only does he need to have the arguably one of the best wide receiver in the league in Tyreek Hill, not only does he need to get an offensive minded coach, because that was the knock, or that's what everyone was saying when he was under Brian Flores. It's the coach's fault. It's the coach's fault. Tua is not that quarterback. Tua is the quarterback that we're seeing now. So if your argument is he's the one that he's seeing now, he needs the best wide receiver in the league. He needs he needs the best offensive minded coach in the league, maybe obviously outside of San Fran and Kansas City. He needs the best O line. He needs the best weapons around him. He also needs to make sure that the play design is going to get the ball out of his hand, so that he's not in 2.5 seconds. You're not throwing 50 yards downfield. That takes too long for the play to develop for Tua. So everything has to be perfectly catered to Tua in order for him to be the third best passer in the league, right? Yes, sure, he led in passing yards last year, but like, okay. So that's kind of why I think he's good in the right situation, kind of like a kind of like a Brock Purdy actually. Like, I think Purdy is good, and he can. I think Purdy is a better at extending the play, and kind of making something out of nothing than Tua is. So I think Purdy's like probably a better quarterback than Tua for that regard. But yeah, to me it just seems crazy that in the division that they're in, playing the teams that they're going to have to play in, and needing everything to be perfectly in line, that now you're going to pay the guy who might be able to do it. That's a big might. He might be able to do it. You're going to pay him $53.1 million a season. Like I said, I think the only thing that's good is that it's 4 years long, so that you can see. Because I can see the argument of, okay, well, he did pretty well last year. Let's see if he can grow on it, and then so 4 years I think is good. 53.1 I think is wild, and $167.1 million in guaranteed money. I mean, at that point, you might as well just the guarantee. I don't, unless it's like the Deshaun Watson contract, like the guaranteed money isn't like a huge factor for me. I think like for the most part, you're going to pay that guy that money anyways. So might as well make some of it guaranteed to keep him around. The other thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way that I wouldn't like to see out of my quarterback was him grabbing the mic and being like, show me the money. Like, I get it, you're trying to rile up the fans, you just got your big contract and like all that kind of stuff. But I think, like, I don't think Jared Goff did that. I don't think Trevor Lawrence did that. I know Josh Allen didn't do that. And I think those are kind of some of the guys that are, that they're like the leaders in the locker room, and those style guys. They're not out there doing that. Now that's fine. That's fine if that's who you are, and you're obviously very excited that you got the contract. But I don't think that's just not something I want out of my quarterback to be doing that. Like, if it was, if Tyreek Hill had done that, then I think that's a whole different story, because that's kind of I think that's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? That's kind of the characteristics of wide receivers. They're kind of more of those like flashier, look at me kind of guys. And the quarterback, I think, is kind of supposed to be a little bit more about the team. I know that probably makes me sound like an old guy complaining about the kids these days, but I don't know. It was just kind of something I saw, and I was like, I don't really like how that looks. I can definitely see why some people were turned off from it. But yeah, I think as a Bills fan, I think it's good that they're going to be overpaying Tua, because I don't think his record against Josh Allen is not great. Sorry for the little glitch there. Was Had some technical difficulties, but yeah, I think Tua's record against Josh is not great. I saw some interesting stats again the other day, comparing Tua and Josh, and how everyone's like, oh, Josh is not gonna do well without Stephon Diggs, and this is going to be Stephon Diggs. He's only good because of Diggs. Blah blah blah. But last year, Tua um, Tua had 29 touchdowns and 19 turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles. And in um, what year was it? The last one without Diggs, 2019. Yes, 2019, the last year without Diggs. Um, Allen had 29 touchdowns and 12 turnovers. So in Tua's career year, it was the same touchdowns, or it was actually a worse season than Josh Allen had because Josh Allen had less turnovers. Same amount of touchdowns um, as Allen had is what Tua had in his best season so far. So I definitely think that Tua is not the guy that you want to be paying $53 million a season for when he can't win in the cold, can't win against good teams, can't win his own division. Um, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Tua to live up to that contract. I think. Like I said, we're kind of just picking on Tua because he's in the division, and that's kind of the only one really that I care about. If Green Bay wants to spend $600 million a season on Jordan Love, I don't really care. I think Love, like I said, Love is becoming overrated. But there's at least a promise of the unknown. Or sorry, not promise of the unknown. There's at least an unknown factor. There's still unseen potential in Love. I think we've seen what we've seen from Tua. I think we've seen what we've seen from Lawrence, and these guys are all getting massively overpaid. Quarterbacks, I think Dallas did themselves a real disservice by waiting this long because now they're going to have to pay Dak at least that if they want to keep him around. Because Dak's going to be like, hey man, I'm better than Tua. And Tua just got 53.1. So you better be giving me 54, 55. Whereas before they could have said, hey Dak, we're going to give you $51 million, right on pace with Hurts. The other quarterback that's in our division, we'll put you right on pace with him. So I think Dallas did themselves a disservice by waiting so long. I think Dak should be getting paid by Dallas, but I think they probably cost themselves an extra $5 million a season just by waiting this long and letting Tua get signed first, kind of thing. So yeah, so I think. I think it's crazy, man. I think it's insane. I don't know what that means for like eventually. I think the league and kind of um, the what do they have, the NFLPA, like the Players Association, the collective bargaining agreement. The next one that they come in, there's going to be some pushback from the owners saying, okay, a quarterback like can only make a certain percentage of our cap. I don't know if that's already in place yet, but it feels like teams are just going to be, paying quarterbacks $300 million a season and then spending $2 million on the rest of the roster, which I think lots of players are going to. I think players rightfully will be giving pushback on kind of how crazy these quarterback contracts are when it's 53 other guys that you got to pay to get the job done. So I think I see something like that coming where I don't know if it'll be okay. Like your quarterback can only maybe $60 million is the highest your quarterback can make, or maybe it's 40% of your team's cap space can be spent on the starting quarterback, up to 50% for all three quarterbacks combined, kind of thing, or whatever the case may be. But I think there's going to be the next time the players and the owners sit down for kind of their collective bargaining. I think that's going to be a major bone of contention for the players, and I think O linemen, I think defensive linemen, I think linebackers. I think these guys are the people that are going to be the most pissed off because they're adding just as much value to the team in being able to stop a quarterback and in being able to protect a quarterback. And um, I think they're going to have lots to say about kind of how the teams are forced going to be forced to spend their money. And I think it's going to be a huge change. And I think there's going to be a huge change to the structure of how we do these things. Maybe it'll mean more signing bonus to the quarterback so that they don't have to, count so much against the cap every year. Maybe quarterbacks will be more or will agree to that more than they will to the higher AAVs. But I don't think that what currently is going on, I do not see it as being sustainable. It's just going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing, and then the next time Josh Allen's up for his contract, which is I think like 2026 or 2027, something like that. Maybe later, maybe 2029. If you're paying Jordan Love $55 million, you better be giving Allen $65 million a season. You know what I mean? Like eventually, it gets to a point where it's just not sustainable. So it's going to be crazy to see how that all pans out. But yeah, I think it'll. I think it makes it for interesting. Like it makes for interesting conversation. It makes for interesting debates when you're coming to look at players and you're saying, okay, yeah, we think Tua's our guy. Let's pay him as such. And then you look around the league and you're like, well, paying your guy is going to cost you $55 million a season. You're like, okay, maybe he's not our guy. So I think it's going to make for lots of interesting talks around the NFL in the years to come. Okay, so that'll wrap up the quarterback contract portion. So we'll take a quick little break, and then when I come back, we'll get into some training camp stuff because we've like I said in the intro, we've seen some players in pads, so it's it'll be fun. It's been fun watching, so we'll get into that when we get back. Alrighty, guys. So we'll just touch briefly on the training camp, and then we'll kind of then we'll call her a show. So everything out of Buffalo. I mean, I feel like that kind of happens with every team. Everything coming out of Buffalo it's all great news. Everyone looks good. Reports of Keon Coleman, like he's sounding like he's figured out the offense. It looks like he's going to be actually a wide receiver one this year. Obviously, all the coaches and all the sound bites coming out of the show are they all mention he's a raw talent. So they're still working on him, but I think he said in one of his post camp interviews, which I loved to hear, was the he was saying how much he studies the playbook and how he feels like it's his job to understand and be able to come in here right away and make an impact. And it's all the stuff that you want to hear, and that you should hear. So it looks like he's getting along great. Everyone's saying that their chemistry, Allen to Coleman, is great. So it's an exciting time for sure for Bills fans, and seeing kind of some of the clips. He's made some great catches. Like we said last episode, he seems like a guy who catches everything. He's good with the jump balls. His game speed, like everyone was saying after he ran a slower 40 time, but all the in-game simulation drills in the combine, he was fast in. So it looks like he's able to get the separation, and he looks like he has game speed. So it's all good news. Offense looks like it's clicking. Keon looks great, but obviously that raises the question of, is it just because our offense is that good, or is it because our defense might be bad? And that was kind of our biggest concern is who's going to be helping out at the safety position, and are we getting pressure on the quarterback? Obviously, training camp, you're not really getting to see too much of the quarterback pressures because they're not obviously going out there full tilt trying to sack Josh. So it's still a little bit tough to tell kind of how well the defense is playing, but I definitely saw that as being a concern of mine, is that we might need help on defense, especially with Justin Simmons just sitting there, like still a free agent. Nobody's paid him. No one's done anything for him. Like crazy that he's still sitting out there. I mean, I don't think the Bills have the cap space to go get him, but I feel like we should try and make it work. Because obviously we think Allen is great. We know Allen is great. We know he can perform against the best. He can perform well against the best. So maybe it's just Josh is that good. But it definitely has raised some concerns about our defensive backfield. You know, maybe I mean, I don't even think it's a maybe at this point. I think we need someone better than Rapp and Mike Edwards and DeMar Hamlin and Cole Bishop. I don't think that's going to get the job done at the safety position. Hopefully, once some pads come on and we can, like full pads, and we're in full practice mode, and you know, preseason scrimmages and stuff like that, and you're actually able to, you know, have Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau be going full tilt to trying to sack the quarterback. Maybe that can help alleviate some of the stress on the backfield. Because yeah, it looks like Allen's just carving them up, and I think as common as that is for us to see Allen carve up defenses, it's a little bit scary when it's your own. But it is kind of funny to me because I made the TikTok about it the other day, where it's like, you know, when we saw that Patrick Mahomes threw the ball to Worthy. I forget his name, his first name, but he threw the ball to Worthy, and everyone's like, "Oh, watch out!" And everyone's like, all the Kansas City fans are like, "Oh, watch out! Look how good he is! Thanks Buffalo! And then as Bills fans and as other fans of the NFL kind of watching, you're like, it's just training camp. Like no one's whatever. Wait till the pads come on. And then you see your guy make a play, and we see Keon make a play, and we're like, oh yeah, look at this. So you always believe the hype when it's your own team. But I think we gotta, you know, kind of reserve judgment until we see some actual preseason games, and we're actually, you know, the first whatever it is 3 drives that they play, you can kind of get a good feel for how the team is looking and how they stack up. But one thing I will say on the Worthy comparison, and the Chiefs fans being like, "Oh, thanks Buffalo for this," and we're saying, "Oh, thanks for letting us get Keon in the second round." I think sure, if we want to make that comparison, that's fine. But I think the one that we're going to have to keep our eye on as an actual comparison as to what we could have had, because obviously we could have had Worthy, we could have had the 49ers took that Pearsall. We could have had either one of those two guys. But I think for me, the one that we got to watch is Brian Thomas Jr. down in Jacksonville, because that's the guy that I think we should have moved up in the draft to go get. at 23. So I think that's going to be the interesting one, and who's the better one of those? Because then I'll be pissed if it was, if he has like outrageous and he's outrageous numbers, and he's one of these like Jamar Chase rookie seasons or Justin Jefferson rookie seasons, and you're like, damn, that could have been our guy. That should have been our guy. So I'll be upset, but that's kind of the guy who I'm looking at to see like, okay, did we get the better wide receiver? I think we didn't, but I think Coleman will still serve the team and be an absolute stud at wide receiver one. But that's just kind of the guy I'm keeping my eye on, being like, damn, we really should have had that guy instead of Keon. But I don't know. Keon seems to have all the vibes in the world, so maybe it will work out for the best for us. But as for right now, I'm kind of, like I said, reserving judgment until we see some pads on and kind of see what everyone is made of. I'm trying to get. I've been reaching out to a bunch of kind of Bills beat reporters because I'm going to try and get one on the show for an interview to kind of get a full, firsthand experience, firsthand knowledge of how training camp is going. So when I do, I'll definitely let you guys know when that's gonna be on. I've reached out to a couple, waiting on some answers. Hopefully, I can get someone who's at least been there and can kind of see firsthand what the vibes are, what kind of how intense are these training camp practices going, and kind of how what do they actually look like? Because like, it's easy for the Bills social media to just post the highlight clips, but like kind of what's actually going on, that's kind of what I'm more interested in. So keep an eye out for that. I will be doing I'll be recording this show I'll either record Sunday or Monday for the show, and then I'll be doing probably a Wednesday. I'll be doing a live episode. So go to YouTube or go on X, and I thinking right now. I put a poll out on X earlier today to see it, and people voted that the weekday evening is the better time slot. So maybe a Wednesday I'll be doing like an 8:00 at night kind of thing, just a live episode for everyone to tune into. You can ask me your comments live in the chats, and it'll be just a quick, kind of similar to this, quick little half an hour episode that we can interact with each other. So I think that'll be cool. But yeah, like I said, everyone go follow along on X, go subscribe on YouTube, go check out the store, go get yourself a t-shirt. I ordered myself a different one, so I'll should be coming tomorrow. So next week you'll see one of the ones that I designed. And yeah, keep on supporting me, keep on supporting the show, loving every second of it. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. Peace.